But towards the end of the convention, you mentioned earlier the committees, the Committee of Detail. There's an 11-day break for the celebration of the 4th of July, maybe. No, I don't think that's the case. But anyway, there was an 11-day break in the convention, and the task was given to this 5-man committee to kind of create a draft of the Constitution. And you title this chapter Rutledge Steals the Constitution, which is some sort of stuff out of National Treasure. Kind of walk me through this period in time, this 11-day break where Rutledge kind of plants his own agenda into the first draft.
Well, this committee did a wonderful job in taking a very disparate, incomplete bunch of resolutions and making them into a draft. Um, but they viewed their mandate as very broad and interpreted it liberally. So, I mean, they wrote some new provisions themselves that the delegates had never seen before. One of them was the ban on imports of slaves. Um, and you had two particularly strong-minded people on it. Rutledge, who was the chair, and James Wilson from Pennsylvania. These are people we pay little attention to today because their lives ended badly. But they were terribly important. And the other delegates on it included Randolph, and I think it was Ellsworth from Connecticut and Gorham from Massachusetts. They were smart guys. And they did produce a good document and something that could be uh, addressed then more coherently by the other when they reconvened. Um, it was a tough job. I think Wilson probably carried the ball most in terms of producing the document, although Randolph did play a role. And uh, they, they're entitled to more credit for what they did than they tend to get.
Yeah, 100%. It's sort of an important turning point towards the home stretch during the convention because it finally gave the convention a draft to work with.
Yeah, and I've practiced law for many years, and uh, you always want to be the guy producing the draft. Let's work for my draft. Uh, is and God knows Rutledge and Wilson understood that, and they took full advantage of that to the extent they could. Now they didn't get away with everything, but they got away with a good deal. Um, and by the same token, I mean they meet for another 5 weeks, I think, maybe six, and thrash through a lot of other issues. But then they've got to produce a final draft, and amazingly enough, that's done by a single man, this fellow Gouverneur Morris. There was a committee appointed to produce it, but the chair of the committee, the fellow named Johnson from Connecticut, basically said, Morris, why don't you do it? And I think Morris took 2 or 3 days and put it together. And thank God he reduced it by more than half in size. The less you say, the better. um, and it really was a remarkable job.
Yeah, and he penned uh, you know, some of the most iconic words in American history, that preamble, "We the people of the United States." That was Governor Morris.